Some stories in sports just stick with you. They don't fade, they don't go away. Mark Andrews knows exactly what that feels like. He lived through one of the most painful moments of his career when the Ravens fell to the Bills in the playoffs. Mistakes that cost Baltimore dearly and made him the easy target for criticism. But now, months removed from that nightmare, Andrews has finally broken the silence. And what makes this moment even more incredible is the timing. The Ravens open their season in Buffalo in the very same stadium, against the very same opponent under the Sunday night lights. What he said, how he's approaching this rematch, and what it could mean for the Ravens this year might completely change the way we look at both him and this team moving forward. Every player has that one moment they can't shake. For Mark Andrews, it happened in Buffalo. It was the Ravens against the Bills in the playoffs, and everything unraveled in the worst possible way. First, a fumble in the fourth quarter, the ball slipping away and landing right in the hands of the other team. Then came the play that could have changed everything. A perfect pass for a 2-point conversion that would have tied the game. The ball was in his hands, and it slipped away. With under 2 minutes left, Baltimore's chances of winning disappeared. From that moment on, Andrews became the face of the loss. Fans and analysts pinned it all on him, like those two plays were the only reason the Ravens went home. And even though football is the ultimate team sport, mistakes like that stick. They don't go away. For a leader like Andrews, carrying that stigma was brutal. It didn't matter how much he'd already done for franchise. For many, the most recent memory was failure. And now, fate has a sense of irony. The Ravens' first game of the new season, back in Buffalo. Same opponent, same stadium, same stage that brought him so much pain. It almost feels scripted, like the game is designed to test Andrews' mental toughness. He's walking right back into the place that hurt him most, but this time with a chance to write a completely different ending. But here's the thing. Going back isn't just about playing another football game. It's about facing those demons, hearing that hostile crowd again, feeling the weight of that stadium, and proving to himself that he's left it behind. This isn't just a regular season opener. For Andrews, it's about turning a nightmare into fuel. And while the world zeroes in on this emotional rematch, Andrews himself keeps saying he's not stuck in the past. For him, it's a clean slate, a brand new season. And that takes us to the next point. How he's handling the revenge storyline that everyone else seems eager to put on his shoulders. While the spotlight is on this return to Buffalo, Andrews is doing everything he can to push the pressure aside. At the podium, he didn't hesitate. It's a new season. Short and simple. For him, there's no revenge, no settling scores, no carrying baggage. All that matters is two good teams going head-to-head, and him doing his job the best way he can. That answer might sound cold to some, but it's also a shield. Andrews knows that if he leans into revenge angle, he'll be carrying extra weight he doesn't need. So instead, he frames it as just another game, even though everyone knows it's not. It's the mindset of a pro who's learned to separate emotion from execution, and who understands that ghosts don't win you football games. At the same time, there's honesty in what he's saying. He's not ducking responsibility. He's simply refusing to let one mistake define his entire season. What he wants now is for the conversation to shift. Not about the drop, not about the fumble, but about what he can bring to the field in 2025. It's his way of flipping the script without saying the word revenge. And maybe that's what makes his approach so fascinating. While reporters, fans, and even opponents keep bringing up that playoff loss, Andrews keeps insisting on moving forward. That contrast is what fuels this storyline. He can say new season as much as he wants, but everyone knows the shadow of that game still lingers. And if anyone hasn't forgotten those mistakes, it's the critics who hammered him all offseason. That wave of negativity leads right into the next point. How the criticism piled up, and how Lamar Jackson stepped in to defend one of his most trusted weapons. It didn't take long for the backlash to hit Andrews. A fumble, a drop, 2 crushing moments. And suddenly, he was a villain of the playoffs. Social media was relentless. Analysts tore him apart on TV. Columnists wrote him off. The narrative was simple. The Ravens lost because of Andrews. Harsh, unfair, but that's how the story spread. This could have broken him. But that's when Lamar Jackson showed what leadership really looks like. Time after time, In interviews, Jackson stood by his guy. He reminded everyone of how reliable Andrews has been, how many big moments he's delivered, and made it clear he wasn't blaming him for the playoff exit. Other players backed Andrews too, but Jackson's voice mattered most. When the quarterback speaks, the message carries. That support didn't erase the criticism, but it changed the atmosphere inside the locker room. Andrews knew that no matter how ugly it was outside, inside, he still had the full trust of his teammates and coaches. That's the kind of backing that keeps a player steady while waiting for another shot. And imagine if it had gone the other way. If the Ravens had distanced themselves, or if Jackson had sounded frustrated, it could have spiraled. But instead, the team doubled down on him, making it clear he was still a cornerstone of the offense, and that loyalty would be tested again in the offseason, when rumors started swirling about his future in Baltimore. Because even with all that support, the chatter about whether the Ravens should move on from Andrews only got louder, and that turned into one of the biggest storylines heading into the new year.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Nothing in the NFL is guaranteed. When a player enters the final year of his deal, the questions always come. With Andrews, they hit hard. The playoff struggles, his dollar situation, and the fact that he's now 29 opened the door for trade speculation. All off-season long, whispers grew louder. Maybe Baltimore should move him. Maybe it was time to look ahead. For weeks, Andrews' name was everywhere. Sports radio, podcasts, news sites. Was Baltimore ready to move on? Would another team pay more for him than the Ravens were willing to? The uncertainty could have rattled anyone, especially after the tough ending to last season. But slowly, the noise faded. By August, the message was clear. Andrews wasn't going anywhere. No trades, no releases. Baltimore wasn't letting one of Lamar Jackson's favorite targets walk out the door. Instead, they doubled down, reinforcing how important he still is to the offense. That decision sent a message. Andrews wasn't a liability. He wasn't baggage. He was still part of the plan. And yes, it's the last year of his contract, which raises the stakes even higher. If he wants a big extension, in Baltimore or elsewhere, he has to prove on the field that he's worth every bit of it, which is exactly why his mindset this week matters so much. Because even with all the noise around him, Andrews has stayed locked in, showing he hasn't lost focus or passion for the game. When asked about everything he's been through, Andrews didn't flinch. He said he's never lost sight of who he is as a player. For him, football isn't just a job. It's his world. It's what he loves, what he lives for. That says a lot about a guy who's been through criticism, trade rumors, and heartbreak, but still comes out motivated. He didn't let it break him. And this Sunday night might be the perfect stage to show it. Prime time, packed stadium, Ravens versus Bills, and both teams sitting as co-favorites for the Super Bowl in Vegas. It's the type of game where stars either crack under pressure or rise to the occasion, and Lamar Jackson already set the tone. Asked about Andrews, he said, "He's the same guy. Nothing's changed." That's big. It means the QB who trusts him most hasn't lost an ounce of confidence. For a player walking into a spotlight this bright, that backing is huge. What happens in Buffalo could set the tone for the entire year. If Andrews delivers a big game, he flips the narrative. No longer the guy who cost him the playoffs, but the guy who helped him start a new run. If he struggles again, the criticism comes roaring back even louder. It's one of those defining moments that can reshape legacies. And that's where Andrews stands heading into Sunday night, caught between the ghosts of his past and the chance to finally turn them into redemption. The only question now is whether he can do it. Mark Andrews enters this season carrying the weight of bitter memories, harsh criticism, and questions about his future. But at the same time, he's walking into a chance to rewrite his story in the very stadium where it all went wrong. This is the kind of moment that reveals who can turn pain into power, who can face the ghosts and answer back on the field. So here's the question. Do you believe Andrews can finally flip the script and prove he's still a cornerstone for the Ravens? or will the shadow of that playoff nightmare keep haunting him? One thing's for sure, this showdown with the Bills feels like a turning point. The season is just beginning, but the spark of redemption in Baltimore is already burning.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.